Hi there, this is Brittany from By Brittany Goldwyn. I post videos about plants and projects, and today we are out in the garden on this rainy late December day in Maryland Zone 7 to take some lavender cuttings. I'm going to show you two different ways I like to dry lavender for use in crafts or around the home or whatever you want to use it for, that you need to dry it for. The first is air drying, the more traditional method, which takes longer, but you definitely don't have to buy anything for it. And then the second method is using a conventional oven. So we're not going to be talking about using a dehydrator, because who wants to buy another thing for the kitchen if you don't use a dehydrator often? One of these two methods will probably work for you. So let's go through how to take cuttings first. So I'm here by one of my big English lavender plants. Again, it's the middle of winter and you can see the plant still looks really great, which is awesome. We can take some healthy cuttings from it. So you can really take cuttings from anywhere on the plant. And this would certainly be easier if I did not have an umbrella, but of course, sometimes I pick the worst days to have time to film. So I'll take a couple cuttings here and then I will show you a close-up of what they look like. Now I'm mostly taking some of the more tender stems of these just because they are on the ends of the plant, but you can really cut from anywhere on the plant. And what that means is if you are doing some pruning on your lavender plant, which now is not the time of year that you want to be doing pruning on your lavender plant, but if it is the time of year to do pruning, you can take all of those cuttings that you take, no matter if they're from a woody part of the stem or a softer growth tip of the stem, and you can dehydrate those. Now that we have the cuttings inside, the first step is to thoroughly wash them off. So they may look clean, but they've been outside, so there's probably some dirt on them. There may be some bugs or cobwebs, so you want to wash them thoroughly and then dry them. Now, I find the easiest way to do this is just to shake out all of the excess moisture and then dry them individually in a paper towel like this to get off all of the excess. Now, they won't be completely dry, but that's okay because that's for the next step. Now, for the air drying method, you will take your padded dry cutting and pull off the bottommost sets of leaves. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, it just makes it a little bit easier. It gives you a nice clean space where you can tie a piece of string to hang up your cutting. Now, as for choosing a spot in your house to air dry your lavender, you just want to choose somewhere that has really good air circulation and it's relatively dry. For us, it's winter, so that means pretty much anywhere in our house is good. I'm standing in front of a sunny window right now, so that's where I'm going to be hanging my pieces. You can take a piece of twine and tie it around the end of your lavender sprig here and then hang it like this. And then tie that sprig to like a curtain rod or a hook or anything to keep it upright and encourage airflow all around it. You could also, however, use a pipe cleaner. Now, I have a 7-year-old who has a craft closet, and I know that pipe cleaners are good for lots of different things other than just crafts. So I recommend using pipe cleaners if you're using a little curtain rod, because you can very securely wrap the pipe cleaner very tight around the end of the sprig and then create a hook at the top that then allows you to hook this over a little curtain rod so you don't have to hang any sort of other hook or something like that. And here is what the lavender sprigs look like hanging from my window curtain. So it's pretty self-explanatory drying these. You can just monitor them, maybe rotate them if you feel like you need to get more even drying. And then when you feel like they are completely dehydrated, you can take them down and use them. Generally, this will take a couple of weeks depending on the conditions inside of your home, and you'll be able to tell because the little leaves will fall off very easily from the stems. Now, for drying your lavender cuttings in a conventional oven, first you want to set your oven to its lowest possible setting. Now, for us, that's 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is a really good temperature for a low heat, long drying process that's perfect for drying lavender. Now, you can put the entire sprig on a piece of aluminum foil and dry those out. However, the leaves on lavender tend to be pretty densely packed, so it doesn't have as much airflow when you're drying it. For something like rosemary, where the leaves are spread out more, dehydrating a whole sprig can be totally fine because the leaves have more air circulation and it can get a more even drying going in the oven. But for lavender, I do recommend removing all of these individual leaves before drying them so that they will dehydrate faster. Now, for pulling the leaves off of the lavender, you can pull them off like this, and they could come off pretty clean. But sometimes when you pull the leaves off, you'll get a piece of the stem that looks something like this. Generally, you can avoid that by picking off the leaves individually, like this, in little bunches. And it takes a little bit more time, but you can get a more clean separation between the leaf and the stem. Now I turned on a little light so you can see a little bit more what I mean here. And this may be overkill, but if you're using the lavender in something like a salt scrub, which is what I'm actually going to be adding my dried lavender to, you may want to pay more attention to getting a cleaner break on the leaves from the stem. If you're using it for something else, it may be fine to have that piece of the stem on there. It may be overkill to be picking these off individually, and it may even be overkill to take the leaves off completely. You may find that it's fine for your project to dry the entire sprig, and I would encourage you to try both ways. Try drying the entire sprig in the oven and try drying the individual leaves to see which one is easier, because there's certainly less prep time involved in drying the entire sprig. I finished removing all the little leaves here, and now it's time to pop these in the oven. I've picked off all of my lavender leaves and spread them out in a pretty even layer on a piece of aluminum foil here. And now I will let them bake at about 170 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 hours. I will start checking on them at about 1 hour to see how things are going. Now the overall time is going to depend a lot on the moisture content in your lavender when you put it in the oven. So even if you also have an oven set to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, I recommend starting to check on them every half an hour to 45 minutes to maybe even an hour, and then just monitoring how things are drying out from then until you get a feel for how long you think you're going to have to leave them in the oven for. Okay, we are about 3.5 hours later, and I just took these lavender leaves out of the oven. Now, they may not look totally dry. When lavender leaves are dry, they actually kind of retain some of their color. The way to know that they are dry for sure is to take one of the leaves and see if it snaps like that. If you take the leaves and they easily crack and snap in half, and you can go like this and hear a crunch and everything kind of just crumbles together, that means that they are totally dry. Okay, that about covers how to cut and dry lavender sprigs from your garden. If you guys have any questions about either of these methods, air drying or drying slow and low in a conventional oven, please feel free to drop them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I'm going to get to crafting with my dried lavender here, and until next time, happy planting.